The NASCAR Cup Series has a Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the first mile and a half of the season, and we see Hendrick Motorsports pick up their second straight victory. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching the NASCAR Cup Series race from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Pensacola 400, and I have to say we got a lot to talk about from this race, and I have to say the race is really, really good. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. So, for the green flag drop in the race, a couple drivers would have to go to the rear of the field. Kyle Busch, who spent out during practice, who got a ton of damage. They had to use a backup car. It was basically a parts car that Joe Gibbs Racing has due to the parts shortage, and had Denny Hamlin's name originally on the back of the car. Cole Custer had to go to the rear. Tyler Reddick would have to go to the rear. And also Daniel Hemrick would have to go to the rear of the field as well. So, on the start of the race, you have Christabel lead the field from the inside with Kyle Larson on the outside, and Christabel got the race lead really, really early. And then we would say green for a very, very long time, and Christabel actually dominate this portion of this race. But we saw really, really awesome battling up at this point. Kyle Larson started falling back a little bit early in this race, and we started seeing some comers and goers early in the race. And the first caution would be the competition caution on lap 32, and all leaders would come down to Ryan Blaney actually winning the race off pit road. And then Kyle Larson actually came back down pit road. He came off pit road, I think, from 5th position, but he had to come back down pit road due to having a loose wheel at the time, so he came back down pit road to tighten the wheels up. So on the race, I have Ryan Blaney on the inside with Denny Hamlin on the outside, and Ryan Blaney was able to get the race lead. And then the second caution race would come out for Cole Custer, who Cole Custer spun down, I believe, in turn number 3 or turn number 4, would bring out the second caution of this race. Then we go back racing in lap 43 of Ryan Blaney from the inside and Alex Bowman on the outside, and we saw Ryan Blaney keep the race lead. And then we saw the next caution of this race, a multiple car incident. Ross and Dylan Just Hilly spun out, and then Kyle Busch got collected in that. Kyle Busch had a really, really great save, and Daniel Hemrick also got a ton of damage, and actually Alex Bowman was able to get the race lead. And then we go back racing in lap 48 with Alex Bowman leading from the restart, Ryan Blaney on the outside, and Alex Bowman was able to get the race lead for a few laps, and then Denny Hamlin got around Alex Bowman for the race lead, and then Ryan Blaney got around Alex Bowman as well. And then at this point, you saw Kyle Larson, who actually was on scuffed tires at this point. He started driving his way back up to the front as well. And then the next caution in this race would come out on lap 64 for Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick basically was spinning, was trying to make his way back on the front after starting at the rear of the field at the beginning of this race, and spun out down the front, just basically ran through the grass and damaged a rear diffuser. That's a shame because Tyler Reddick was starting to make his way up to the front, and he would not be out of the race but lose a ton of time. And then pit stops would take place where a couple guys decided to stay out, including Kurt Busch, Corey LaJoie, Cole Custer, and Josh Bilicki. Meanwhile, we would see Martin Truex Jr. get a penalty for equipment interference when he lost when a tire rolled from his pit road down into Chris Buescher's pit road and would go to the rear of the field. And then on the restart, you have Kurt Busch leading from the inside, Corey LaJoie on the outside, and Kurt Busch was able to get the race lead. And then William Byron got around him for the race lead. And then the battle picked up with around 4 or 5 laps to go in stage number 1 between the two Hendrick drivers of Alex Bowman and William Byron. William Byron's car was much faster in the early portion of the run, but Alex Bowman got around him, and coming off the corner, Alex Bowman would win stage number 1 here at Las Vegas. Then we go see some cars come down rough. Michael McDowell, Josh Bilicki, and BJ McCloskey staying out, where we see Brad Keselowski win the race off pit road for pitting and when he only took 2 tires. So on the restart, because a lot of chaos started happening, Michael McDowell leading the race off the restart, Brad Keselowski restarting second, and Brad Keselowski got the race lead. And then Denny Hamlin eventually got around him. And then the next caution race came out a few laps later for Chase Briscoe, who got loose off of turn number 4, basically because Michael McDowell basically came up after he had some contact with Eric Jones. He went up to the track. Chase Briscoe got very, very loose, and unfortunately collected Daniel Suarez, who was having a pretty good day at this point. And Daniel Suarez got into the outside wall and fell out of the race, was the first car to officially fall out of this race, which is unfortunate because really there was nowhere to go for Daniel Suarez. Meanwhile, we also earlier in the race saw Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe, which we'll get into that a little bit. We'll take a little bit of displeasure between those two. And then we see some guys decide to come down pit road while the rest leaders decide to stay out. So on a restart, you have Denny Hamlin leading from the inside with Alex Bowman on the outside, and Denny Hamlin was able to get the race lead. And then the next caution this race came out on lap 104 for Brad Keselowski. He was running 8th position at the time. He got loose going into the corner, and Ryan Blaney unfortunately really had nowhere to go. He was actually having one of his best runs of the season up to that point. Ryan Blaney got into the back of Brad Keselowski and got a ton of damage from that and collided into him and got a ton of damage, and Ryan Blaney unfortunately would fall out of this race. And then we see some guys decide to stay out on pit road while all leaders decided to come down pit road, with Denny Hamlin winning, with Chase Briscoe and Eric Almirola winning the race off pit road due to the fact that they totally took fuel on the restart. So on the restart, I have Kyle Busch leading from the inside with Austin Dillon on the outside, and Kyle Busch actually got the race lead. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain, who had been having a really strong run throughout the day, he would get the race lead and started to go away. And then Kyle Larson actually was starting to catch Ross Chastain at this point, but he would get loose going into turn number 1. Turn number 4, excuse me. Now, luckily for him, he was able to save it, but lose a ton of positions and fall all the way back. And then we kept going for a long time. And then Chase Briscoe would spin out some contact from 19th position. Austin Rick also would spin going to turn number 3. And we saw some contact between Harrison Burton and Cristobal as well, bringing out the caution in this race. Man, Harrison Burton cannot catch a break. Same with Ross Syndergaard, those guys. They cannot catch a break. And then the leaders would all come down pit road. But Denny Hamlin would lose a ton of spots on pit road. He was running second at the time. And he was actually catching Ross Chastain on the longer, but how probably with the best car overall today. But basically hit the air hose and lost a ton of spots and would fall back. And Kyle Larson actually win the race off pit road. And then Chase Briscoe hit with his damage. He went to the garage. So on the restart, Kyle Larson on the inside, Chase Elliott on the outside, and Kyle Larson was able to get the race lead for a few laps. And then the next caution race came out for Cristobal, who spun from second position, and then Harrison Burton also spun out from 21st position as well, bringing out the next caution in this race. And Cristobal started basically wheel hopping and basically low riding, trying to get back to pit road as well. And then we basically see Eric Jones also come down pit road after having a really strong run at the time. He came down pit road and raised the hood up with a brake issue. And then, of course, the guys that got involved in the wreck came into pit road while the rest leaders stayed out. So on the restart, Kyle Larson leading from the inside, Chase on the outside, and we saw Kyle Larson be able to keep the race lead. And then meanwhile, we see Kyle Busch actually get into the wall off turn number 2, was able to keep going. And Kyle Larson actually eventually got passed by Ross Chastain, and Ross Chastain was able to pull away. And coming off the corner, Ross Chastain with around 5 or 6 go got around him, and he would come off the corner and win stage number 2 here at Las Vegas. And when the leaders came down pit road, Ross Chastain winning the race off pit road, followed by Kyle Busch. And they were about to go back green for Ross Chastain being a race leader. And then Cole Custer unfortunately stalled on turn number 4. So they had to take a few laps, and Cole Custer went to the garage. Tough break from him after a pretty decent run at Auto Club. Very tough break for him. So on the restart, you have Ross Chastain leading the field from the inside, Kyle Busch on the outside, and Ross Chastain was able to get I believe he was able to get the race lead and was able to dominate the next portion. And then William Byron, he got into the outside wall, and the same with Kyle Larson a lap later, but they were able to keep going. And then green flag pit stops started happening, and all the leaders decided to come down pit road. And then during the green flag pit stops, we would see the major changing point in this race with around 50 laps to go. Well, as Kyle Larson was coming down pit road, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. decided to stay out. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin unfortunately spun, and for whatever reason decided not to throw the caution right there. But Denny Hamlin spun on turn number 1, but they kept it green, and Kyle Larson also got a speeding penalty because I think he thought, I need to get back out here. And then Denny Hamlin then, of course, basically broke something in the car, basically when he spun out, and would bring out the caution in this race. Because of this, there were only like 8 cars that end up being on the lead lap, and a ton of cars would have to give the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Because of this, a lot of things changed with Kyle Busch actually beating Ross Chastain on basically during the green flag pit stops, beating Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch would lead the field back to the green. And then Kyle Busch got a really good restart and was able to start pulling away. Then we basically saw Kyle Busch have the lead for a while, and then Mark Truex Jr., he started getting around Ross Chastain, and then his car really started coming in here late in this race. Mark Truex Jr.'s car was much stronger, especially later in the race. He was really quiet most of the day, was really starting to show up late. And then it became a battle between Mark Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch for the win. These two were going back and forth. Mark Truex Jr. gets around Kyle Busch for a second, then Kyle Busch gets him back. Kyle Busch uses the dirty air a little bit to hold off Martin Truex Jr., and then Mark Truex Jr., he continues to get close to him and gets a really strong run, but was never really able to clear him. And then eventually Mark Truex Jr. unfortunately starts to fall back. And it looks like that Kyle Busch is going to run away with this victory. Mark Truex Jr. was going to have a chance to beat him. Not so fast. Eric Jones, unfortunately, got into the outside wall really hard, lost the steering rack. The car basically broke. He was running really well back up into 7th position. He got into the outside wall really hard, and unfortunately, Eric Jones got a ton of damage from Bubba Wallace as well. Bubba Wallace really had nowhere to go. Bubba Wallace gets collided by Eric Jones, and Bubba Wallace, unfortunately, hits the inside wall really hard. It's a shame because Bubba was having one of his best runs at Las Vegas ever, and it's unfortunate because he got a ton of damage for that. And then because of this, it was a very big decision. You want to take 2 tires or 4 tires. And again, we saw a couple guys on that pit stop decided to take 2 tires. It'd be Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, and William Byron only taking 2 tires, while the rest leaders decided to take 4 tires. And then on the restart, you have Kyle Larson leading Phil from the outside, Alex Bowman on the inside. Kyle Larson would get a very, very incredible restart in there, but Alex Bowman also did really, really well in the corners. Kyle Larson gets the advantage off of turn number 2, but Alex Bowman gets a really, really big run down the backstretch. As they're coming around the white flag, they're side by side, and Alex Bowman has the advantage going into turn number 1. Then Kyle Larson gets a really, really strong run going into turn number 2, and it looks like Kyle Larson is going to be able to clear Alex Bowman for the race lead. But going to turn number 3, Alex Bowman sends it in the corner. Larson goes up the track really, really high. Alex Bowman comes off the corner, gets around Kyle Larson, holds off in an incredible finish. And coming off the corner, Alex Bowman picks up his first win of the 2021 season in spectacular fashion. What a race, what a finish. Yes, Alex Bowman did not have the best car all day, but he was up front most of the day. He ran top 5 a majority of the day. He was actually in 4th at the time. He was actually catching Ross Chastain. I think he was about to pass Ross Chastain for 3rd place. So he's right there behind him. Well, he wasn't close, but he was right there in the neck of it, and they made a really good strategy call that got him out front. Yes, he really wasn't the best car all day, but Alex Bowman was there most of the race and picks up his first win of 2022. Now the question is, what happens in Las Vegas now? Because anytime Alex Bowman picks up a victory somewhere, something happens to the track. We're probably going to see something happen to the track now because Alex Bowman picked up the victory. But in all seriousness, congratulations to Alex Bowman on picking up the victory. This is Hendrick Motorsports' 2nd straight victory here, and Alex Bowman's first. Huge congratulations to him. He picks up his first win of the 2022 season. So now let's jump into the results. So Alex Bowman picks up the victory. Kyle Larson finished the second. Pretty good day for Kyle Larson. Well, he wasn't really a great day for Larson, to be honest with you. Larson did have a great start to the race and fell back. Car fell back. Then he basically had to bounce back multiple times in this race and was probably for that yellow. We're going to finish around 6, but made that really strong strategy call late in the race and gets a runner-up finish. Great run for Larson, though. Good run for him. He finishes in 2nd. Ross Chastain finishes 3rd. Ross Chastain definitely the star of this race. He was absolutely amazing today. And honestly, I thought Ross Chastain was going to win this race. Ross was extremely fast and had a ton of speed today. And I think Trackhouse has really something good going for them. And he really needed this too, because Ross Chastain has not had a really good run so far throughout this year. But a very good run for Ross Chastain. 3rd place, star of the race today. I think he led the most laps too in the race. So great run for Ross Chastain. He finishes in 3rd. Kyle Busch finishes 4th. I mean, Kyle Busch, man, he bounced back after having to start at the rear of the field, and it looks like he's easily going to win the race. And then that caution came out that unfortunately cost him, but Kyle Busch definitely should not be disappointed. Another great day for Kyle Busch, bouncing back to a top 5 run and coming back after his issues early. He finishes 4th. Good run for Kyle Busch. William Byron finished 5th. Another driver that really needed a good run coming into this weekend. He ends up having that really strong run. Ran top 10 all day. Made that good strategy call as well to finish 5th. Good run for William Byron. He finishes in 5th. Eric Almirola finished 6th, continues that top 10 streak, continues to be the only driver currently right now to have top 10s in every single race so far. I thought Eric Almirola was probably going to finish outside the top 10, to be real with you, but a really strong run for Eric Almirola today. Ran top 10 in majority, made that good strategy call earlier. Good run for him. I think he's only a 2nd or 3rd top 10 finish here at Vegas, so great run for him. He finishes in 6th. Tyler Reddick finished 7th. Tyler Reddick had an up and down day throughout the race, but his car started coming in. I thought he was going to have a little more speed this weekend, but a solid top 10 run. Finally has a race. He finally completes it. Doesn't have any major problems. He did spin out early, but finally gets a top 10. Good run at the end of the day. He finishes in 7th. Mark Truex Jr. finishes 8th. Mark Truex Jr. fortunately got bit by the restart bug, unfortunately, but he gets a top 10 finish regardless. I think MTJ's definitely got a chance to win the championship this year. That 19 car looked fast. He finishes 8th. Good run for Mark Truex Jr. at the end of the day. Chase Elliott finished 9th. Chase Elliott was up and down most of the day. Was really never outside the top 10 a majority of the day, but the car just wasn't as great as it had been. But he gets a top 10 regardless. Solid 9th place finish. Chase Elliott needed a good run, is able to come out with a pretty clean race. Christopher finishes 7th. Nice bounce back day for Christopher. Christopher had issues early in the race and was really fast from the get-go, dominated early, but unfortunately the car really fell off. Regardless, a top 10 run, solid run for him. He finishes in 10th. And Austin Dillon finished 11th. Very solid run for Austin Dillon today. A good run for him after finishing runner-up last week at Auto Club. Solid run for Austin Dillon. Ran outside the top 20 a lot of this race, but gets up to 11th. Solid run for him. Kevin Hart finishes 12th. Kevin Harvick was really non-existent most of the day until the end, but got up in the top 10, was very quiet at the end, and gets a top 15 run. I'm not sure if Kevin Harvick really is a championship contender currently at the moment, but Kevin Harvick, the top 15 run regardless. Good run for Kevin Harvick. Kurt Busch finishes 13th. Kurt Busch ran around the top 15 area a majority of the day. Getting a top 15 is not bad for a new team he's on. I think there's still some growing pains with this organization he's going to have to learn. I think he'll be able to learn it out. Regardless, a top 15, solid run for him. Joey Logano finishes 14th. I'm going to be honest, I'm disappointed in Logano today. Logano was non-existent. I thought Logano was going to be a much bigger factor than he was. He's been historically really good at this track. And unfortunately for Joey Logano, not a great run for him. He finishes in 14th. Not a great run. Corey LaJoie got a top 15 run. How about that? Good run for Corey LaJoie. Really, he was quietly running in the top 20. Never really mentioned him on the broadcast. But he's having a good day regardless. Deserves that top 15. Good run for Corey LaJoie. He finishes in 15th. Harrison Burr finished 16th, saw a top 20 run after his issues in the race, bounced back to a top 20 run. First top 20 run for him this year. Good run for Harrison Burr. Judd Haley finishes 17th, finally has a clean race. He hasn't had a clean race so far this year. Good run in 17th, saw a top 20 run. Chris Buescher finishes in 18th. Austin Cindric finishes in 19th. Austin Cindric had his issues, but he bounced back to the top 19. And Ty Dillon finishes in 20th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes 21st. Stenhouse really struggled in there. I don't know what happened because he ran around the top 10, top 15 area. His car just really fell off at the end, but a 21st place finish. Daniel Hemric finishes 22nd. I thought Hemric was going to be a little bit better, but unfortunately had multiple issues in this race that took him out of contention. Todd Gilliland finishes 23rd. Todd Gilliland should have finished better than he did. He ran top 20 a lot of this race and had a lot of pace and speed. Very surprising pace and speed. Good run, decent run for Todd Gilliland. Good benchmark for him. He finishes 23rd. Brad Keselowski finishes 24th. Man, Brad Keselowski, man, has not had a great start to this year. They got to turn this season around for that 6 team. I know there are some growing pains for Brad Keselowski, but man, I expected a little bit better out of Brad Keselowski, to be real with you there. Bubba Wallace finished 25th. I feel so bad for Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace had a really good day going, was in the top 10 a lot of this race too. He justifiably should have gotten the top 10, but unfortunately got involved in a mess that really wasn't his own. It's not, you can't really be mad at Eric Jones for that. That stuff happens, unfortunately. Bubba just had nowhere to go. And NASCAR took, for God knows whatever reason, to throw the yellow. They should have thrown the yellow much, much sooner, but it is what it is. But a 25th place finish again. He still finished in the top 25, and hopefully they could build on from this with the speed they had. But honestly, feel bad for Bubba Wallace right there. Cody Ware finishes 26th, solid top 30 run for Rick Racing. Michael McDowell finishes 27th. Bijou Cobb finishes 20th. Josh Blakey finishes 29th. Garrett Smith finishes 30th. Eric Jones, after his issues, finishes 31st. After great run Auto Club, unfortunately, the race comes to an end. They were actually running really, really well at Vegas. Denny Hamlin, after his issues, finishes 32nd. He was really probably the fast car day. Tough break for Denny Hamlin there. He has not finished in the top 10 this year. Not a great start year for Denny Hamlin. Cole Custer finishes 33rd. Greg Biffle, yeah, Greg Biffle was in this race too, and they only mentioned him once, and that was when he went to the garage. Tough break for Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle actually was running the top 30 majority of this race and was actually only one lap down. And NY Racing looked like they were going to be showing something today. But they did. They qualified really, really well. I think this team has got potential. I don't know what their next race is going to be, but they finished 34th. Chase Briscoe, after his issue, finishes 35th. Ryan Blaney finished 36th, and Daniel Suarez finishes in last in 37th place. So now let's go ahead and talk about my overall thoughts on this race and give you my score of today's race. This race was absolutely outstanding. It wasn't as good as Auto Club last week, but it was very, very fun. Yes, there were points where the leaders got stretched out, but that happens in traditional racing. You're going to have some times where the leader stretches out. And one thing that you cannot do in this old car compared to this car is if you have a fast enough car to run the leader down, you can do that. And that's one thing that some of these guys had, is they were able to have a fast enough car where they could run the leaders down and you could get around and pass these guys. Yes, dirty air is still a major effect, but it was overall a very, very good race. I'm overall giving today's score overall a 9.5 out of 10. It was a great race, was very fun for me. I really enjoy that. We've had four really, really awesome races, including the Busch Clash. And for all the races so far we've seen so far in Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks, not a single race, we're not going to count the duels, but not a single race so far has been really, really bad. And Gen 7 car, Ultimate Next Gen car, Ultimate is better than the Gen 6 car. And what it does for me is gets me excited for these other intermediate races, gets me excited for Charlotte, gets me excited for Kansas, gets me excited for, not Atlanta really, I'm not sure about that, but gets me excited for all these intermediate races. Even Texas gets me a little bit excited for. We're probably not going to see a great race there regardless, but a overall very, very strong race. And this year continues to be puts on incredible racing. So anyway, that is today's race review from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications, be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on page as well. Let's get you below over that and comment your thoughts on today's race. What are your thoughts on today's race? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Alex Bowman on picking up his first win of the 2022 season. Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow, we're going to have a news video on the channel discussing stuff from this past weekend. And trust me, you've got quite a bit to discuss from this past weekend in all the world of motorsports. That'll be dropping tomorrow on the channel. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.